Tartaria left a signature so big that you can only see it from the sky. And today, I'm going to give you exact Google Earth coordinates to 10 star forts across 5+ continents, so you can verify this yourself. Why do the same geometric star shapes appear in Europe, America, and Asia? How did societies with no contact build the same angles, the same symmetry, the same layout? And why do these shapes keep appearing near waterways and strategic nodes, like someone planned a circuit? Mainstream historians will never tell you this, because the moment you type these coordinates into Google Earth and zoom out, you stop looking at forts. You start looking at a pattern, a repeating blueprint. Tonight, we're not doing vague claims. We're doing interactive proof you can check with your own eyes. 10 locations, 1 design language, 1 global footprint. Stay till the end, because what comes next will change everything. Here is what the history books tell us. They say star forts are just a military upgrade, an evolution of defensive walls to handle cannons. A practical response. Nothing more. But something doesn't add up. First, why is the geometry so standardized across the planet? If this was purely local military design, why do we keep seeing the same symmetrical bastions, the same pointed angles, the same moat geometry, repeating like a template? Isn't warfare supposed to be messy and local? Second, why do these sites look different from ground level than they do from the air? From the ground, it's walls and grass. From above, it's a perfect star. So who was the design really for? Enemy soldiers on foot, or someone who could map from above? And now, here's the part that forces you to think differently. Because I'm not going to ask you to trust me. I'm going to hand you coordinates. If the shape is the message, what is the message trying to say? Open Google Earth. Paste the coordinates. Watch the pattern repeat. Start with the Netherlands. Zoom out. It's not kind of a star. It's an engineered star. Again, the same design logic. The same pointed bastions. The same symmetry. Now leave the Netherlands. Go to Italy. Look at it. A star city. A planned geometry. And now ask yourself a question nobody wants to sit with. If these are just forts, why do they look like precision instruments when viewed from above? Why do so many of them feel less like improvised defense and more like measured geometry? Nobody is talking about this. They'll show you one fort. They'll show you a history plaque. But they won't show you 10 back-to-back across continents with coordinates you can check in seconds. And here's the key. The unique angle isn't the claim. The unique angle is the test. Because once you test it, you stop arguing with strangers online. You start watching patterns appear under your cursor. So ask it clearly. Why does the same geometric signature appear again and again, as if one system stamped it? But this is just the beginning. If that surprised you, this will shock you. Now we jump north. It's surrounded by water, not just near water. Integrated with it. A frontier fortress zone. A place that screams, control the border. Now go to the United States. Do you notice what keeps happening? So many of these structures sit at ports, bays, rivers, and choke points. Yes, that fits defense, but it also fits something else. Routing. They removed this from every textbook. They never teach you to look at these as a connected set. They teach you to look at them as isolated local history. One city, one fort, one story. But we're doing the unique angle again. Coordinates, pins on a globe, the same geometry repeating, the same obsession with water access. Here's one statistic that matters. The classic star fort or bastion fort design spreads across Europe and into colonial networks for centuries, so widely that you can't call it rare. It becomes a global standard. So why does a local defense solution behave like a global template? Why do these shapes look like they were designed by rule, not by region? No other channel has shown you this connection, because they won't hand you a list and say, check it, 10 pins, right now. And if the geometry is consistent and the placement is consistent, what exactly was the real function? And they almost got away with it. But here's the proof they couldn't erase. Go to Sri Lanka. Again, fortified geometry on the water's edge. Again, a design that reads like an aerial stamp. Now go to India. Now stop. Just stop and look at what you did. You crossed continents. You crossed empires. You crossed languages and cultures. And the geometry kept answering back in the same voice. This is where the philosophical part hits. Because if Tartaria was real, the greatest weapon wasn't a cannon. It was coordination. It was infrastructure. It was a world that functioned in a way we no longer recognize. The truth was hidden in plain sight. Because on the ground, you can call it a fort. From above, it's a symbol, and symbols don't repeat globally by accident. So here's the question. If mainstream history is right, why does your own screen keep showing the same pattern? And if Tartaria is the missing chapter, why were we never taught to test it this way? This is the part every other channel missed. They talk. We verify. We pin coordinates. We let the viewer become the investigator. And once you see it, what else have they buried under the label just a fort? Now here is what nobody wants you to connect. Part 1. You used coordinates to confirm a repeating star geometry across continents. Part 2. You noticed the placement, waterways, harbors, choke points, over and over. Part 3. You pushed the test into Asia and the pattern still held. That means the argument is no longer, did you hear a theory? It becomes, why does a global template exist at all? They didn't just build walls. They built a language of geometry, a consistent signature you can still trace with a cursor in 2026. So here's the biggest question. If this is only military design, why does it behave like infrastructure? We have about 70% of the answer. The geometry, the placement, the global spread. But 30% is still missing, because the function, the real purpose, is the part they never explain. And once you realize that, you understand why the coordinates matter more than opinions. Now I want your answer in the comments. When you paste those coordinates into Google Earth, did it feel like random forts or a repeating blueprint? If you want more videos like this, where we test claims with locations you can verify, subscribe, and like this video. Some things were erased, but patterns don't lie.